video is to explain how the United States government or Commonwealth of Massachusetts is trying to fabricate evidence against me in a trial um, by using subliminal message to feed the jury. One way they're doing so is by putting out a restraining order against me, individual, against me and the individual who assaulted me and my family. Why would you put a restraining order against the Good Samaritan? You're supposed to put a restraining order against the criminal. But to make me look like the criminal, because I'm not a criminal, so I don't have a criminal history. But their client, who they're protecting, and who they're hiding his crimes to make him seem like he's not a criminal, is by putting out a restraining order against me to, one, make me seem like I was aggressor in the situation. Two, to make me appear that I have a history with this individual, because no one puts a restraining order on a person that they don't know. Who puts a restraining order? What would be my reason to have a restraining order if I don't have a history with him? So by painting me, because I'm not a criminal, by putting a restraining order on me shows that I have a history with criminals. So that's one way to try to make the jury perceive me as a criminal, because criminals hang with criminals. This is their thought process. And this message is a subliminal message just by putting out a restraining order. And another thing, how they putting out these subliminal messages for the jury, right? By putting out a restraining order on me, is by making me seem like I'm stalking him, like I'm the one, because a restraining order is mostly for a person who's stalking one individual stalking another individual. So it makes me seem like I'm the aggressor and the one that's doing the harassment. But what reason would I have, trying to harm an individual when me and this individual got into a physical altercation, right? And in his most weakest, I was able to get the upper hand in the fight and put him to sleep. So if I wanted to hurt him, what more vulnerable position would he be in if he's laying down, lifeless? I could hurt him as much as I want. So why would I want to continue hurting him? Why would I need a restraining order against him? Obviously, I didn't hurt him, even though the Commonwealth, that's one of the charges. They said I put severe body injury on him. Whoa, severe body injury. So one of the questions is, the jury the prosecution has to, answer, and the courts have to answer. How can I put severe body injury on an individual where I neither used a weapon on him, I neither struck him with my hands, I neither stabbed him, So they say I strangled him. Okay, that's already a charge. So why are you trying to stack up charges? It's one charge, that's it. Just one charge. I didn't severe body injury him, and you have to explain how I severe body injured him. Especially when he was stalking me the next day, the following day, with less than 24 hours, stalking me at the same location. The incident happened at a 7-Eleven with 6 security cameras, right? So if I committed a crime, which the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is suggesting I committed a crime that night, then it should be on the surveillance video. So what they're trying to do is bypass the surveillance video, like in the words of the judge, what he said, oh, that's private property. The surveillance video he was referring to is private property. In other words, they don't need to get the surveillance video. So, but you're saying that I committed a crime, so you have to prove, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts by law needs to prove that I committed a crime. All right. So, so what? How are they going to try to win this case? Is through using a Facebook post that an individual recorded on his phone. So they're trying to substitute 6 professionally, strategically placed out cameras from the 7-Eleven and use one phone amateur footage that only shows it starts off, the Facebook post starts off with the physical altercation when it already has started. So one seeing the footage doesn't know what happened, who's the aggressor and who wasn't the aggressor. Doesn't say. It only shows one getting the upper hand on another. That's all it shows. 2, how the Commonwealth of Massachusetts didn't bring a box of evidence, but brought a box of fabricated evidence in the form of subliminal messages, right, to make the jury presume my guilt. Because, a U.S. citizen is supposed to have assumption of innocence. But the way they're staging the case is to make the jury have to presume my guilt. So instead of an assumption of innocence, they're starting off the case with an assumption of guilt. Number 2, barring me from the store. They barred me from the store to make the store. Who barred me from the store? It wasn't the store that barred me. It was the courts at the request of the prosecution that barred me from the store. To make it look like the store barred me. So to make it look like the store takes the position that 2 people were fighting and I was the one that started the fight by barring me and not barring the other guy. It makes the store looks like they take the position that I'm the guilty one and the other guy is the guilty. So when you make a subliminal message that makes the jury think that the store barred me, then you're saying that the store's opinion that I was the guilty one, which automatically makes the jury presume my guilt. It's a presumption of guilt. Another way just the case itself is a presumption of guilt. For example, why would you have a case and if you have 6 cameras, right? If you take it to trial, your natural assumption is, well, there's something on those cameras that they saw, right? On those cameras that I committed a crime. That would be a smart assumption if they were going to use what's on those cameras as evidence. But that's the opposite of what they're trying to do. They're not trying to use what's on a camera. They're trying to win this case not with evidence. Footage from the surveillance video would be evidence. That would be solid evidence. Not only would that be evidence, the jury themselves would be witnesses. If I have committed a crime and they show surveillance video, showing the surveillance video not only would make the jury, not only would that be evidence for the jury, but that would make the jury a witness to the crime. So you don't need to bring any witnesses, because the jury themselves will become witnesses along with the judge and along with the prosecution. So what is holding them back
from from presenting to
surveillance video? This is called fabrication of evidence. By using subliminal messaging to stage the case to make it as
people assume that I'm guilty.
okay. So when you bring a box of evidence,
And all it is a box of fabricated evidence
in the form of making the jury assume through subliminal messaging. An example of how not using the surveillance video, and why I'm sticking with the surveillance video, because that's the obvious evidence. That's the first thing the detective is supposed to look at. If there's a crime and you don't have any clue what happened, you check the surveillance video. So why would you disregard the first sign of evidence, the first common sense of evidence? Obviously, there's nothing that the prosecution, nothing on those videos, right, that the prosecution thinks is helpful in convicting me. Okay. Okay, so if I have a professional basketball player, 6 professional basketball players, let's call it the Boston Celtics, 6 members of the Boston Celtics, right? Play against an amateur junior varsity player, would you consider that fair? Well, if the judge allows one amateur footage, right, that shows only the fight, in between selfies and screaming out "World Star," right? Then what you're saying is this amateur footage, right, is fair to use to substitute 6 professional cameras. Another analogy would be if you have 6 people sitting at a table, and you don't know, and there was a fight that broke out, and out of these 6 people, there were none of the 6 people are known to start fights, none of them in their history, right? And they are different races, all 6 people of all different races, and there's a black guy at the table, right, that's known to start fights. He's the only one that's known to start fights. Would you assume, if there was a fight that broke out, that it was the black guy that started the fight? Naturally, reasonably, you would assume. Now, if I was to give you an exam, right, and you had to choose one of the 6 people at the table that you thought might have started the fight. Let's say you had, maybe some people would choose number 1, others would choose number 2, others would choose number 3, right? But let's say that the answers was kept in the back of the book, right? So you have the answers. So it was an exam, but you can go into the book and go into the back of the book and get the answers, right? Who in their right mind would get it wrong? After, let's say you chose number 2, but you can change your answer once you go in the back of the book. So let's say you changed your answer once you've seen the answer in the back of the book. Who in their right mind would get it wrong? Now, if you ask this same question to a racist, a professional racist, a person that looks to profit off of black on black violence, right? A person that profits off of locking up as many black people as possible, right? The same question, his answer may not be, his answer
may not be that it was the black guy that started the fight.
Your answer might be
It was the black guy because he's known to always start trouble.
but because he's professional,
He strategically chooses how he goes about in choosing who he
targets. So he might ask
another question. His question is,
are there any other black people?
people at that table?
And let's say there are other black.
Maybe there's another black person at that table.
He might say, that one.
That one that's known to never start trouble, he's the one that started the fight.
Right? He's the one that started the fight. Because he knows
That he doesn't need to worry about the black guy that always starts the fight. He has him under his control.
he can lock him up.
For anything. He can lock him up for other crimes that he done, other fights. Or he can just wait until he fights again. But the one that never gets in trouble,
He gets him in trouble.
by saying he's the one that started it, and then he could just wait and get the other one in trouble.
So he gets two blacks. That's a professional racist.
Why do you think, let's say for, an example, I've taken a chemistry class.
And when you go through,
The process of answering questions, right? And you have your answer. And
the answer is in the back of the book.
why do you think they put the answer in the back of the book?
One reason is
That the answer is not the most important thing. It's not the most important thing. That's why they put it in the back of the book, because it's not the most important thing of the whole process. It's the process itself of how you came to that conclusion that's more important than the answer. And that is why they put it in the back of the book. So when your answer doesn't verify it, then you have to go back and see what mistakes you made in your processing, right? So it goes back to the question I asked, who in their right mind would get it wrong after you already have the answer, right? So let's say if the professional racist got it wrong because his process is wrong. It's not the answer that was important. It's his process that's wrong. His process is driven off of racism. His ideology is driven off of racism. His theory is driven through racism and profit. That's what's wrong. And that's why if you have the answer in the back of the book, you still get it wrong. Because
his process was wrong. So in this situation, now
you have this situation. It's not 6 people, it's just 2.
it's just 2 people, right? And then you have the answer in the
Back of the book, in the form of what? The 6
security cameras. The 6 security cameras is the answer. So why do they need to have a court case? Why do you need to have a
jury.
right? If it's so plain and simple. Because it's about the methodology.
It's the ideology that is wrong.
And their methodology
And ideology is the
structure of the whole court.
the whole court system. For
For example, you have
a judge who has many years in law school. You
have the prosecution,
right? The lawyers that have many years in law school, right? And hundreds and thousands of hours of locking up black men, right? And what about the jury? They don't even have 1 hour of law They don't have 1 hour of, they have no years in the law school of understanding the law. So they're making
a decision, right, based off of
ignorance of the law, ignorance of what, you know, and the prosecution is taking full advantage of this by feeding them subliminal messages, which they won't detect. They won't detect how they feel like. They just feel, oh, I feel that he's guilty. I feel that he's guilty. And they don't know why they feel that way. Because they've been fed subliminal messaging in this case. So instead of a box of evidence that the prosecution brings, it's a box of fabricated evidence in the form of subliminal messages based on how the trial is arranged or framed.
Okay. Another analogy
Would be, you know, or what I could say. So basically, this guy, you have a guy who comes into the store, and he's chasing another individual into the store, right?
he gets in a fight,
Or almost gets into a fight and harass a white guy who comes to the aid of the first individual that he's chasing into the store.
right? I get involved.
Because one of the guys that he was assaulting was my brother, who was handicapped.
So I come
Come up to my brother and ask him, "What's going on? Why were you just assaulted? What gripe does this guy have against you?" And he told me that he doesn't know this individual. So when I go into the store, I see all the chaos is going on. People saying call the police and this and that, right?
So this guy is,
It's, you know, assaulting this white guy in the store. He chased a homosexual who was out of the store because he doesn't like homosexuals. Then he goes after my crippled brother, and then in the end he comes after me unprovoked, right? So what does that make me?
that makes me a good Samaritan because I
I
was
was able to stop it, right? With and gave everybody an opportunity to walk away, right? Because I stopped the aggressor. But what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is trying to take the crimes of the criminal and paint it on me without using the surveillance video.
right. So they're trying to give me a murder charge.
Even though no one died. And when I say murder charge, I'm talking 15 years.
Because each charge adds
Adds up. The charges add up to 15 years. So they're trying to give me something that's compatible to a murder charge for being a hero because they can't accept a black man to be a good Samaritan. This is something out of their nature to accept.
you know. So if you have
So basically, I'm an scapegoat
for the police officers who took a long time to show up.
because the fight happened at the end. You know, so if the police showed up on at a good time, right, then I wouldn't have to fight this guy from assaulting me.
If the police, the judge, I'm the scapegoat
Go for the judge.
because the judge is the one that signed the papers to let him out of prison,
To give him bail.
right? So I'm the scapegoat for the judge's decision, the judge's crime of letting him out.
Right?
I'm also,
If you so he's under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If I have a dog and I let him out into the street and he bites one guy, and he goes to another guy and attacks him, and then he goes to the next guy and attacks him, and then somebody shoots my dog, right? Who gets in trouble?
you press charges.
Do I press charges against the one that shot my dog? No, I don't press charges because I'm the one that gets in trouble because I'm the one responsible for letting them out. But the courts take no responsibility for their crimes of releasing their criminals. They take absolutely because they're not in the business of taking responsibility. They're in the business of pointing fingers at people. And what they were trying to do for me, what they were trying to do was, they illegally arrested me. Actually, they came in my house without a warrant to enter my house, right? A search warrant. Permission from the judge to enter my house.
So, so it
It
was,
was an illegal arrest. I had no idea why I was being arrested. The police officers never read me my rights, so they were breaking my my rights one after another. Okay, so
one of the
things
things,
that the judge said to me, you know what? There've been like five or six or seven pre-trials. I lost count at this point. It's been about 3 years.
and we're still talking about
An incident. I'm still talking about an incident that nobody cares about. Nobody cares that a criminal got roughed up one night, and that's all that happened to him. Roughed up and embarrassed on footage, and somebody posted it on the Facebook, right?
nobody cares. And
They're trying to give me a murder charge for something that nobody cares about.
One of the things the judge said
To me,
was, when he
asked me about having a lawyer, and he was trying to extort money from me, $150, and this is what this is what the court was trying to get from the day that I was arrested. They were trying to get $150, right, for bail for an illegal arrest. I'm not going to pay $150, and then they give me an opportunity to work for the $150 if I didn't have it. So before I'm even convicted of committing a crime, they want me to pay money. They want me to work for the city for free, right? To pay as a slave. Because if I'm working for free, they want me to work as a slave. That's what a slave does, works for free. Even before I'm even convicted. I'm not a slave. So that's what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts needs to know. I'm not your slave. I'm not paying $150, and I'm not working for you for free.
that's one of the messages.
I give to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm not your slave.
So
The judge said, do I want to pay the $150 for the public defender?
right, but I already had a public
Defender. And the public defender that they gave me took the side that I was already guilty. He already took the presumption of guilt. Just like they're trying to feed the jury, he took the
presumption of guilt. He told me
that the police saw me throw this guy down, right? And nothing that he did,
nothing that this guy did warrants me throwing him
him down. And if we get the video, if we get
the surveillance video,
right,
and that's the only thing I
requested from the public defender to get the
surveillance video, that it would show that I'm guilty.
guilty. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the
Same courts, right, that illegally arrested me,
right,
and same courts that illegally arrested
arrested me
and trying to give me a murder charge
charge for an incident that nobody cares about, right? No one got hurt, right? And not trying to recognize me as a good Samaritan because I'm black. It's the same
same ones
that gave me a
public defender,
that takes the side, right, of the prosecution.
right? So I have
I have a prosecution who's against me, trying to get me locked up, and then they give me
a public,
defender that takes the same position.
you know. So I was like, so why would I pay a
$150, and most likely I'm going to get another public defender.
I don't trust you.
I don't trust you and your public defenders. And then he said something silly. You took all the public defenders? Have you seen all of them? No, but I don't need to see all your public defenders. I gave you a chance already. I gave you one chance. That's all you get. One chance.
So you try to
So I had to go down to the court because the public defender that they gave me,
or public pretender, right? That they gave me,
would not get the tapes. So I said to him, okay, so if you don't want to get the surveillance video, will you at least
set
a
up
motion to reserve
the
the surveillance video?
right? Because they barred me from the store.
I can't go to the store to get the surveillance video because they barred me from. That's one of the reasons that they barred me from the store.
Right. So I went down to
The clerk's office
to see,
and sent and put in a motion to reserve the footage from that day of the incident, and also the day after, where it proves that this guy was waiting around for me. So if somebody has severe body injury, will you still be waiting for round two at the same location?
and when he seen me,
Right? He approached me with a weapon, with a gun. And I was talking to one of my friends, and he fled one way. Well, not a friend, somebody who saw he heard about the incident and we was talking about it. We just actually met. And he came up to me, or we crossed paths, and we was discussing the incident. And he said that, he heard what happened. So this is not something that's mysterious. We don't know what happened. Everybody knew what happened. Everybody knew what he was doing. And then he ran one way, and I was on my bike, and I went another way and was able to get away from the gunman,
who was coming at me, who
who was apparently waiting there the whole night to get revenge.
right? And then the people from the store, they told me
That, be careful of this guy. He has a weapon, and he's waiting. He comes in every day and waits, and we think he's waiting for you.
this is what they want me. This is what they were telling me. So if you're waiting for round two,
How are you severe body injured? This is a question the court has to answer, right?
how are you
Severe body injured. They also have to answer, right?
The court also have to answer
How is their client severely body injured? They have to answer, why was when I put a motion, reserve
the evidence
why was it
denied. Why was the motion
denied to show this individual come at me with a gun under the lens of the surveillance video?
Why was
The footage denied that showed the incident and everything that led up to the incident.
right? So
There's only two ways.
that I can be innocent in this case. One is that
The person in the incident in the footage wasn't me.
right. The other way
Is that
it was self-defense.
defense. But if you go for a footage that only shows a fight, what you're saying is we don't need to know if it was self-defense or not.
right? We just want
Want to know if you choked him out or you didn't choke him out. That's what we're gonna try to wind this down. Was it you or wasn't it you? Right?
But if it's self-defense, then I have a right,
To defend myself.
you know. So,
And that's why the prosecution is not trying to use the
surveillance video. Why? What do they have?
have to hide. Why can't they use the surveillance video?
Why can't they use it? What do they have to hide? So
They
they
have to answer the questions of one, why they're not using the surveillance video, and two, why they deny me my motion to reserve the surveillance video. Because the surveillance video only lasts 3 months.
right, and that's why they sent me.
A public defender that did everything in his power not to get the surveillance video.
And for me to get another,
Public defender, I would have to wait 3 months, which is what? The time the tapes is no good. So,
so what the judge said
to me, right, another thing that the judge said to me was when I said I don't want your public defender, I'll look for a free public, I'll look for my own lawyer. I don't want your public defender. Well, I told him I'll defend myself for free. So when I said I'll defend myself for free, right, he said, well, you could go to jail for free, right? So that's their attitude. When it was a black judge that said that to me too.
when the trial is racist,
One thing they do, they make sure they make the judge black. They make sure that the judge is black, right? I call this the barking dog syndrome. The barking dog syndrome. It's like when you have a dog. Let's say a white guy has his dog. He's walking down the street with his dog, and another guy is walking up the street with his dog.
right? So they're crossing paths.
Maybe that one of the guys don't like that certain breed of that dog, and in his mind he's like, I don't like you. I wish I could throw a shoe at you. I just don't like you, right?
But his dog
Has a hatred
way beyond,
that white guy's hatred. His dog's hatred towards him is way beyond throwing a shoe at him. He wants to rip, right? If he was
to let him go
he would go straight for the jugular vein and rip that dog up.
because his hatred for that dog. You know, so instead of the dog
Saying, man, we're in a bad predicament. We on leashes. Look
look at
our
our,
predicament. Let's work together, right?
the mindset of the dog is, maybe I can get a treat after if I show him how tough I am.
Maybe I get a treat.
So his hatred towards that dog is way beyond,
The capability of the white guy's hatred or anger towards that dog.
it goes way beyond. So every time they have a racist case, right? They send a judge to one to say,
How could it be racist? Look, the judge is black.
right? But that judge's hatred towards the black guy,
He wants to convict that black guy even more than the white judge does.
I call it the barking dog syndrome.
Another example of the barking dog syndrome. One of my neighbors, we lived where I used to live. We lived in a white neighborhood
Well, mostly white.
in that side of the town, and our neighbor was having he was
Very
very
wealthy,
neighbor,
and he had singers.
and they was having food and everything, and it was very high end party, right?
Um,
And so you know, I was just recording everything, just being a part, just hanging out, chilling, recording the singers and everything. And this black guy came to me
and slapped the
camera out my hand, wanting to know why I was there. He didn't know I lived right next door. He didn't know I lived right next door. Right.
And it was only two black people there, me and him. And the whole
Place stopped. Because me and him was almost going at it. We almost got into a fist fight. Right?
but I pretty much backed
Down. You know, I was heated, but I wasn't really, I was aware of the situation. I didn't want two black people to fight in front of all those white people.
so I was aware.
And I really was trying to back down.
But this right here is,
Maybe he wanted to impress some of his white friends. It was,
you know, the attitude is like,
oh, there's another black guy. Don't worry, I got this. I got this. I'll see what he's up to. And it's that attitude. So I call it the barking dog syndrome. So whenever there's a judge,
whenever there's a case that's racist, right, it's common that they send a black
judge, and I really think that's why they have black judges, for these situations.
or
So black people can say, "Oh, let me go fight for my country. Let me go fight for my country. I'm a part of the country. Look at how we're doing things. Look how we're. So whenever there's a war or something, and they need to recruit black people, right?
you notice that, like recently they had the first black judge.
First black woman.
They said, "Oh, look how
How
far."
have we become to make the black people feel like they're part of the situation, part of. They want black people to feel that they're part of the country when there's a war.
So they can enlist and die for their
Country.
um
Another example of the barking dog syndrome. There was a case where there was a black man, right? There was a black man who was being charged for not paying his child support, and he was going to go to jail. The DNA came about that testified that the child wasn't his. But the black judge, in this case was a woman, still wanted him to pay the child support and was going to take him to jail for it. He did not have a lawyer. And at the last minute, a volunteer lawyer came to his defense. It was another black lady. That's the only thing that saved him.
it wasn't that he was,
Innocent or isn't guilty.
because it's a the courts look at it.
A black man who it's like an insult to the court. If a black man comes in front of a judge without his master, and the lawyer represents his master, and that's why it's widely known in the black community that you
Get a lawyer, make sure he's white.
if you
Get a lawyer is better,
get the white lawyer,
and even better than that,
if he's Jewish, get the Jewish
lawyer. And the Jewish lawyer will represent your
master.
because quiet as it's kept,
A black man is not looked at as a man, and he needs to come in front of the court with a man or somebody who represents him. He can't come by himself. So it's an insult if you defend yourself.
and that's why
The black judge got upset when I said I'll defend myself. That's an insult to the court. And he told me, "Oh, you could go to jail for free." What does that tell you? It means he's willing to take me to jail, this black judge, to send this black man to jail for a murder charge of 15 years or more, whether he did a crime or didn't do a crime. That's what free means. So if I give you a cake for free, that means you didn't deserve the cake, right? It's free.
free. You didn't deserve it. You didn't do anything to deserve it.
So basically what he's saying is that whether you deserve jail or whether you don't deserve jail, we'll give you jail. I'm willing to give you jail, whether you committed a crime or didn't commit a crime. It doesn't. It's all the same to us. I'm willing to give you jail.
So, yeah, so basically, that's the justice. That's the American justice right there, right? American justice for blacks. So,
I can't really think of anything else that I wanted to say, so I'll leave that for right now.